when we decide like on something and you tell me like we're doing it, like I move fast. You know that. And as soon as we got confirmation, I said, time to pack.
We knew we needed this much money.
Time to pack.
And we was like, all right, we got this many days to make this much money. And
we literally started, I remember.
That was crazy.
Hello you guys, and welcome back to another episode. My name is Jasmine.
My name is Matthew Cohn.
And we are the 1% Better Everyday podcast where entrepreneurs learn, connect, win, and grow. Today, we actually wanted to dive into our story of our first house in Arizona, because I think this is more of like a personal story that we've never told before. And a lot of you guys can relate as you guys are on your entrepreneur journey or as you guys are growing. You guys are going to have to make some sacrifices to get to where you want to be. And I really feel like the first house just taught us so many lessons and so many things that we are so grateful for now. But without further ado, let's get into the video. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And again, leave your guys' comments and questions down below, because again, we want to shout you guys out. You guys always leave us comments that you guys like listening to us. You guys like watching us on YouTube. Don't forget, you guys can listen to us on Anchor or actually watch us on YouTube. But let's get into the video.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like, it just popped in my head. Like your first time wanting to move out of your parents' crib, if y'all ever done that before. Yeah. And it's like, all right, I need to find something. I need something so I can leave out, so I can get out. But you don't necessarily take the first option that you get or are able to obtain, but it was definitely important that we got something. we had to move somewhere.
So basically, Matt always wanted to move to California, and I was always like, but why California? Like when we met each other, we both knew that we wanted to move out of state. You know, I told you that I had been thinking about it for almost like a year, or like 3 months or 6 months, like, you know, but where would you move to? And we had already been dating at this point for what, like a year? 2 years when we decided to move? 2 years, because it was in 2022. It was in 2022, so we had already been dating for 2 years.
No, it was the winter. So it was about 2020. It was 2021 when I told you
that you wanted to move.
That I wanted to move.
Oh,
and this was the end of 2021.
Yeah.
So at this point, we had been together for 2 years already. All of 2020, all of 2021. Yeah. And then...
So that December, he was like, these are like our last winter in Cincinnati. And I was like, there's no way, like... I just felt like we weren't ready yet, like just based on our goals. I feel like we were going to be in Cincinnati for another year. So when he said that, I was like, we'll see. And then the summer of 22 came around, and I remember, what was I doing? I was coming home from class, or I was coming home from class.
Was it June? May or June?
July.
Was it before did we find out before graduation or after?
No, because your lease
was up in like August or September.
In September, so we had to find out in July.
I think they gave me like 60 days. They gave me either 60 or 90 days notice. Now, mind you, I had been in, so me and Jazz had always lived together. She had her own apartment. And shortly in the COVID, we was just like, you might as well just condense to save money. I saved a shit ton of money. I got a lot of bills paid. I paid off my car. Mm-hmm. Like we was able to build so much in that transition during those 2 years that my intuition kicked in by the end of 2021 to be like, all right, we got to get the fuck up out of here. Because we knew what we wanted our future to be. And I knew for what we wanted to achieve that it wasn't going to happen where we was at. And we needed to move really fast. And I always knew that coming to the West Coast, we was going to be able to do the shit that we wanted to do. It was just it wasn't a matter of how. It's never been a matter of how. It was just when it was going to happen.
I don't know what I was doing that day. I was like trying to remember what I was doing that day, but I was coming home from somewhere, and I just remember you told me that
we got to move.
Yeah, the apartment basically told us that they weren't, like, if we asked, remember we asked a couple people and they weren't renewing like a lot of people's leases for some reason.
I knew why.
Why?
For me, my rent was super cheap. Like everybody else's was high. Because I had been there for 4 years.
Yeah.
Like, so I was like grandfathered into like old prices. Like every time I move up to a place, I'm usually there for a long time. So I was there for 4 years, and I was still paying for what we had. I was paying under $1,000. So it was just like that crib was nice.
You were.
Like
That
for
was
me
nice
to be,
now
that
looking
was
back.
real. Like if you really think about it and look at all the other places and all my friends and where everybody else has stayed at, I had a really nice crib in Cincinnati, like right next to the park, like big ass windows. We had 2 bedrooms, bathrooms, a decent sized kitchen, we changed this kitchen into a studio. Like I loved our living room. Like you was able to see outside and just see nature and stuff like that. And then we lived so close to the park, but.
Yeah, but anyway, so we basically had to decide whether we wanted to move to like a new house, a new apartment, a new townhome in Ohio, or if we just wanted to move out of state.
Remember, we was even thinking about Atlanta for a while.
We were. We actually really were considering moving to ATL.
Because if any place, when I was a kid, it was West Coast Cali, but the older I got, I was doing a lot of business in Atlanta.
And it just made sense. Like there were a lot of content creators in Atlanta, and that we would always connect with. I
was always down there.
And like I even had a client down there, so it made sense. But then.
What happened when we started looking at San
Diego? When we found out, I started looking in California because I was like, okay, that's where he wants to move. And we found a house, but it was like super, super far away from the city. Like it was like super, super in the country, and it was like less than $1,000. Are you a service-based entrepreneur that provides some kind of service, but you don't know how to create content in order to convert someone from following you into a paying client? I'm going to tell you exactly what to post in order to start generating more leads, attract high-paying clients, and get more DMs than you can possibly answer. I will help you how to find your niche, how to find your target audience, and craft offers that will attract top buyers every time you go to make a post. Text me content to 513-516-7332 to learn more on how you can get mentored by me for only $99 a month. So remember, that was our first choice. We're like, okay, we're gonna go to this house in Cali, but there was something about it that just like, it wasn't it. Yeah. And so I was like, you know what? Let me start looking in Arizona because I saw that there was a lot of content creators here. So in my head, I was like, we're content creators. There's a lot of business out there. And I don't know why. I had a feeling about it, and I was like, let me just look and let me see what.
It was really you that popped up with Arizona out of nowhere. I was just like, Arizona. I was just like, but what's crazy is when I look back at like all my old social media posts and stuff like that, I was always talking about Phoenix, and I even loved as a kid and as in high school, Phoenix Suns was one of my favorite basketball teams. Like I always talked about Phoenix. Like all the people that I grew up with know that I love Phoenix Suns, and I love Phoenix Suns for a long time. So it was a coincidence, but it wasn't a coincidence. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, but I started looking, and then all of a sudden, apartments and houses just started coming up, and the first house that we actually got was, now looking back, it was super, super nice because it wasn't like an apartment. It wasn't like we had to be on top of anybody. We weren't below anybody. We had like our own, essentially. It
was an actual house.
Essentially house, but it was like a unit. So we had like our own parking spot. We had like our own key, but I don't even know how I came up. Like, I think I was like looking for apartments. I don't even know how I came up on it. Like, it just looked, there was barely any pictures, and part of me was like, it looks sketch, but let me go ahead and send her a message. So I sent a lady a message, and then she emails me hella fast. And she's like, yeah, it's available. Like, you need this deposit and you need this. And at the time, like, it just worked. Like, everybody else's, especially being a content creator and entrepreneur, like, there's so many things that you have to, and maybe we can talk about this in another video, but there's so many things you have to prove, and paperwork and documents, and everybody else, like, it was like a long time for them to get back to us, or they were like, oh, you're not qualified because of this, or you need more like proof that you're making income and stuff like that. And that house, for some reason, it just worked out. She was like, yeah, like, the only thing we need is like your last 2 like pay stubs or something like that. And I was like, perfect, like, we have that. And it just worked out. And then she emailed me back. I remember when she emailed me, I started getting a little worried because we were waiting to hear back, and she was like, well, she said we got it, but she didn't tell me how much the deposit was. She didn't send me like the welcome email. And so I started getting worried. I was like, man, what if we don't get this? Like, what if it was a scam? And so I started getting really concerned. I was like, you know what? Maybe Cali is the choice. And all of a sudden, one day I checked my email, and you were like, we already got it. And I checked my email and she's like, yeah, this is like how much you have to pay. Here's where you can pay. And we paid that super fast and we got it.
Most importantly, we was well prepared before we left with just the money that we needed, finances wise, and we knew that we had this much space and a lot of shit to move. So we just packed up the
I
most
had to sell
important shit.
Everything on Facebook Marketplace.
Everything was gone.
Because we physically couldn't take it. So I was literally telling my friends and family, like, hey, come get any furniture that you want, any furniture that you need. We literally sold everything on Facebook Marketplace.
Remember when I first told you, I was like, we're going to get rid of everything and start all over? I remember her face. She was like, what? She was like, so what you mean start over?
Because I wanted to take a lot of like staple pieces.
Nah, we didn't need it.
You were like, we don't need it. You were like, get rid of everything. And I was just like, okay, maybe I am a little bit of a hoarder, but I'm a hoarder when it comes to like emotional stuff. So like our table, like that was like our first table that we got in our dining room. Like our chairs, like our office space. Like it just had an emotional attachment. But yeah, when we decide like on something and you tell me like we're doing it, like I move fast. You know that. And as soon as we got confirmation, I said, time to pack.
We knew we needed this much money.
Time to pack.
And we was like, all right, we got this many days to make this much money. And
we literally started, I remember.
That was crazy. That was a crazy,
maybe it is a 2-part episode because we've been talking a lot. There's going to be a 2-part episode. But I remember that summer, we worked like never before for ourselves. Like we were always grinding and hustling. But that summer taught us like a different type of hustle. Like I remember you started applying to a bunch of like contracts and like government.
We literally had 60 days.
Yeah, like he was applying to like every single like job opportunity that made sense in videography. And then I remember like I just started working at my dad's and I started like collecting all this money and I was like, we got 300,
selling shit,
we got
like
500.
Remember I sold all my shoes.
Yeah.
I had like 20 pairs of shoes in the closet.
Yeah.
Got rid of everything because I was like,
I was so heartbroken for his shoes because I'm a shoe person. You know, I'm a sneakerhead.
Yeah, but for us to get to where we needed to be, like it was no point in keeping unnecessary things. And to look, now that I look back, I invested a lot of money in my shoes, and it was a good return because I was able to I had equity in those shoes, and I was able to use that money to achieve our goals. And look where we're at now. I can get all those shoes back like that, but I don't even need them.
Yeah, and again, maybe there's like a whole other episode, but I feel like that, like moving to another state really taught me that we put so many emotional attachments on things that we have that we don't even really need. I think after we moved to Arizona, even like our first house, I feel like I didn't really like decorate as much as I wanted to because one, I knew we were only going to be there temporarily, but 2, I just didn't see the point of like buying like a bunch of stuff that we didn't need. Remember, because I got most of our pieces for the first house off of Facebook Marketplace too. And it was really good quality actually. We had like a really nice kitchen table. We had a really nice patio set. Remember? For
the Phoenix crib?
Or did I only get the chairs?
Are you talking about for the Phoenix crib?
Yeah, I thought I got the glass table and the chairs. Didn't I?
I don't remember.
But so our first house.
So it was basically a house. So it was now that I'm looking at it, it was probably like a 3-bedroom house with like 2 bathrooms. Before they refixed it, it had a kitchen, just one kitchen. Then it had a back private yard, and then they built another house on the property, right? Mm-hmm. So
basically, it was like a house split up into 2 different houses.
No. See, that's why you gotta let me finish talking. So
that became units.
So the house was split into 3 units. I don't know why she said 2. It was split into 3 units. So 3 families.
Technically 4, if you're gonna count every single space.
What do you mean? 4?
The one in the back was 1. Then there was one next to us on the left, which was 2. Then we were 3, and then the one to our right was 4.
What?
If you're counting every single space that was occupied, it was 4 units.
No, it wasn't. It was 3 units. It was 3 families. It was a guy to the right of us and then the family to the left of us. There was no
plus
4.
the one that was living behind us.
Oh, I already said that there was another house
That's
built
what
on
I'm
the property.
saying. The way you're explaining it is going to confuse people.
Oh, well, yeah,
Okay.
technically, then it was fucking 4 units then, because the whole house, but I'm just talking about the one house.
Okay.
The one house was split in 3 units, so it was 3 families staying in each portion.
So one house split up into 2 pieces, and then
3 pieces. Why do you keep saying 2? It was 3.
It was 2. There
it
was
was
one
3.
house, which is the one that we were living in,
Yes,
and
that
the
was split
second
into 3.
house.
And then the second house.
That's it.
Yes. Why do you keep saying 2 units?
2 houses.
No.
Okay.
No, you said 2 units.
So
It's
it
2
was
separate
one
houses.
house. It was one house. This
That
is
was
the house.
split into 3 units.
And then it was split up into 2 pieces.
No,
A
it
and B.
wasn't.
Listen.
No, it wasn't.
Listen, Linda.
It's not
A
right.
and B.
No,
A
that's
was
not right.
split up into 3 units. B was 1 unit by itself. Does that make sense?
You explaining it wrong.
Okay, whatever.
It was 2 houses. One of the houses was split into 3 units.
Yes, and that's the one we were living in.
Correct.
So, the house with the 3 units, now that we got to the story, it got us to where we are, and we are so grateful for it, because like even we could go, I mean, before
Remember the shed? That shed that was in the backyard? Where we used to park the Jeep under?
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, that was another story. But anyways, we are so grateful for our first house because it got us to where we are. And honestly, even though, like, we're going to talk about some of our experiences in it, even though we had, like, a couple of experiences, like, I'm really grateful because we had, like, our own parking. Like, at least we had, like, some kind of, like, freedom over our own house.
Kind of. The neighbor kept fucking parking.
Yeah.
In the spots.
But there were some challenges. Like, I feel like we still have a little bit of trauma or PTSD from our first house, just because, like I said, we're grateful for it, but there was just so much stuff that happened there that you guys wouldn't believe. And that's what we want to talk about, is that sometimes the journey is not always going to look pretty. Like, sometimes it's not always supposed to feel comfortable, but there's some things in your life that are temporary to get you to the next level. So the other day we were just sitting back, and we're so grateful for like our 3-bedroom house now in Fountain Hills, Arizona, which is like a super nice area. And it just made us appreciate all the things that we went through when we first got here, which was our first house. And one of the things that started happening was, I mean, there were so many things, but we started getting flies out of nowhere.
What was the first red flag for you?
Okay, so the first red flag was that the bathroom was super tiny. Well, first, actually, when we even moved into the house, they said they were going to clean it. They never cleaned it. We get to the house, and it was
the unit was disgusting.
It was so dirty.
It was disgusting.
Like, you know when you move into an apartment, you're like, okay, like I can understand they didn't clean it. There's a couple crumbs here and there.
Terrible.
There were literally dead grasshoppers in the kitchen.
Remember the roaches?
There was literally dirt. There was roaches. There was so much dust on the ground. Like, I couldn't do it. Like, Matt had to do it. I was like, thank you for taking one for the team.
There's grasshoppers everywhere in the house, man. It was crazy. But my first red flag was, remember the day we came out in the front of the house?
Matt, I need your help growing my social media audience.
All right, guys, if you need help growing your social media audience, make sure you text 602-390-7002. Once again, it's 602-390-7002. Which apparently wasn't ours to use or whatever. We were supposed to be using in front of the house.
Oh, yeah.
But remember the meat, the raw expired meat that was sitting on the table?
Oh, I forgot about that.
That was the first red flag.
Oh my God, that was so gross. How did I forget about that?
Random people pulling up, and you're like, who is this? But again, this is a small 3-bedroom house that was split into multiple units. So we had a neighbor, a single neighbor, a guy, and then, oh shit, remember the unit was an Airbnb. Oh my fucking God. That's what it was.
So I'm not gonna lie, we kind of snitched because, first of all, we were getting concerned because we kept seeing people
Just
drive
random
up to the
people.
driveway, And they would be hanging like around outside of her house, like literally right in front of your yard or
like,
outside
bro,
of her house.
Who is this?
Or there would just be like cars sitting there, and we're just like, okay, like, you know, we can understand every now and then there are people that are living there, but it was always a different car. And then we just started noticing like new families come into the apartment, and we're just like, okay, are they Airbnb-ing it out? Which is fine, but like at least let us know so that way we know that there's like random and new people at the apartment next door. And the fact that we could hear all their conversations, it was so annoying.
We could literally hear everything.
We could hear all their conversations. We had to like literally go outside or put some headphones sometimes
Blast
if we wanted
the
to work.
TV.
Yeah. We had to turn the TV up so loud. And then the cats in the ceiling.
Well, we're not done. So, mind you, what I think happened was I think the owner was renting it out to somebody, and the white boy turned it into an Airbnb without the owner knowing. So, mind you, we got all these people. It's just a safety hazard. Like, not only that. So that was the unit to the left of us. So we snitched, and
and the reason I did it was because I sent an email because I was like, hey, like I asked you for the maintenance guy to come out about a week ago, and we were just so busy during that time that I wasn't checking up on it. And I'm like, it's a week later and they still haven't come. So I sent her an email again. I'm like, hey, you know, first of all, you didn't tell us that you're Airbnb-ing the place next door, and second of all, like I requested this to be fixed, and nobody still has came out. And I think that's when they found out about the Airbnb. I thought they just knew. So technically, they didn't even know either.
Yeah, they didn't even know. And then soon after the Airbnb, shortly in between us moving in and then going through the Airbnb neighbor, there was cats all over the property. So we found out that
we kept hearing meow, 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 and we're just like
we talking nine cats.
Like when we were watching, like, let's just say Netflix at night, like it was so loud to the point where we're just like, does somebody have cats outside? And we couldn't figure out where it was coming from at first, remember? We're just like, we checked everywhere, we checked outside, we checked the front yard, like we didn't know where it was coming from.
The cats used to come in the house.
Well, that was not yet. That was before we knew where the noise was coming from. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, Matt, I think it's coming from the walls. I thought it was from the walls, but you were like, I think it's from the ceiling. And then you were the one that was like, what if they're in there? And one day we were just like, you know what? Like, let's just take a look. And I don't know what made you move the...
No, that was right before we moved. That was almost a year later when we found the cat in the ceiling.
Okay, but at first we didn't even know that there were cats on the property.
Yeah.
Like, we just kept hearing it and hearing it and hearing it. Mm-hmm. Then there was this little cat that started coming around. So you're right. Before we even went into the ceiling, there was this little cat that started coming around. And we're just like, oh, like, she's cute. Like, it looked like a mom. And we're just like, oh, like, this mom is out here with no kids. And then she brought, like, a baby, like, 1 or 2. And then...
we found out they was living in the shed on the property.
We found out they were living on the shed.
And it was like 9 of them.
Yes.
So one morning I come out and there's 2 dead cats on the property. And I think that's when you emailed them and we was like, man, they so full of shit.
Yeah, that was so sad because, I don't know, I saw the cat and it was so...
Because I had to scoop up their dead bodies.
Yeah, and I saw them since they were a baby. So it was like, I really wanted them to live longer.
Yeah, but that wasn't the first time.
Yeah, so that was the first time it died. And then I was kind of mad at the mom because I was like, you're not taking care of your kids. So then I would put milk out there. I would put like little bread out there. And I don't know if maybe they just weren't meant to live a long time, because then there was like another one that was dead that popped up. And I think some of them just left or they disappeared. I don't know what happened to them.
I don't know, but after the Airbnb guy got kicked out, a whole new family of like 4 people moved in. Oh my God. It was the mom, the baby daddy, the son, and the sister. Right?
Yeah.
And then they used to have cars like pull up in the drive. Outside of our window, we can see the front yard, the tree, in the driveway. And we used to see them every time they pulled in, and they had like 3 cars covering the property.
Yeah.
It was just
we would just be able to hear their conversations.
We would hear their conversations, them arguing.
Sometimes it was just like, I can't wait till we get out of this apartment. Like
ghetto.
I would literally be counting down the days, because I think that after our 1 year, I think you even said it, like, it's time to get out of here. After, like, this.
Well, the reason why we bounced because of the shit that happened with Jameer. Because I was like, all right, we gotta get it. If it wasn't for that shit happening with Jameer.
But even before that, like, we already knew that was our last year.
We was going to do a whole nother year. We had signed on for a whole new lease.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The second year was going to be the last year. I wasn't going to stay there a third year.
Honestly,
I wasn't going to stay there.
I don't even know if we would have stayed that second year, because
we would have probably
to the point we probably would have ended the lease anyway. But because of what happened with my son, we kind of like pushed it up even further. Yeah. We was there for September.
So
October,
before we found the cats.
January, February, March, April.
Or no, after. What?
Damn, we did 8 months on our second lease? Mm-hmm. Damn, we really did 8 months on our second lease. Wow. Sheesh. That's nuts.
And that is it for today's video, you guys. We're going to go ahead and dive into part 2. If you guys want to see part 2, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you guys in the next episode.